What's going on, guys? Bringing another trade sim video today, looking at the biggest trade from yesterday. Happened literally like minutes before the draft started. Seth Jones, the Chicago Blackhawks, with a first round pick, was actually the 32nd pick in the draft, last pick in the first round, in exchange for Adam Boqvist, Chicago's first round pick, which was 12th overall, and Columbus used it to take Cole Sillinger. Also their 2021 second round pick, they used to take Alexei Himosalmi, as well as a 2022 first round pick. They'll become a 2023 first round pick if they win the lottery. So if I'm Columbus, I hope Chicago wins the lottery. That way I get a 2023 unprotected pick. Maybe that ends up being Connor Bedard. So obviously Seth Jones is a good defenseman. I think, a lot of people were talking about him being a Norris candidate a couple seasons ago. Last season was a rough season for him, especially if you look at the analytics. Did not have good numbers, but I still do think he's a top pairing defenseman in the NHL. Now, having said that, I feel like Chicago gave up way too much to get him. I think Boqvist, a first and a second, was more than enough. The extra first just seems unnecessary. So in game, you guys can see here, Seth Jones, 25 years old, 87 overall, $5.4 million for 2 more years. It's really 1 more year, but it actually doesn't even matter because it was a sign-in trade. So what Seth Jones got traded to Chicago, he signed an 8-year deal, paying him $9.5 million per season, making him one of the highest paid defensemen in the NHL. Again, he's a top pairing defenseman, but $9.5 million still seems like a lot of money for Seth Jones. Most of the times when people sign those big contracts, when a guy's get into his late 20s, they don't work out. So I feel like Chicago not only overpaid in the trade, but also in signing Seth Jones. $9.5 million is just so steep. I think for him, $7.5 million probably a bit more reasonable. Especially, you have his brother on your team. Maybe he'll give you a bit of a discount for that reason. So again, Jones there, 25.87, top 2 defenseman, immediately potential. Drafted 4th overall there in 2013, of course, behind McKinnon, Barkov, Duran. Drafted by the Predators before being traded for Johansson. I feel like Columbus definitely won that trade. Not only did Jones look like the better player a couple seasons after, but they got a king's ransom for him here, whereas Johansson, I think the Predators would honestly have to pay somebody to take his contract. You guys can see there, pretty good point producer, pretty solid defensively. Again, coming off the worst season of his career, but I think, playing on Chicago, maybe he can bounce back, similar to Ekman Larsson on the Canucks. And I think, too, Jones is coming off 1 bad year, where Ekman Larsson's had a couple bad seasons. So, very curious to see, how all these trades work out. Now, as I mentioned, with Seth Jones, Columbus included the 32nd pick in the first round, which, of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning pick, they won the Cup. And then they also included a 2022 6th round pick. I always find it weird when there's like a random late round pick added to a big trade. It's like, did you really think like that was the difference maker? Now, in regards to Chicago here, Adam Boqvist is the big piece they're giving up, I think. 20 years old, 81 overall, solid offensive defenseman, has a decent defensive game as well. You guys can see his stats here, 13 points, 41 games last season. This year, I thought he looked pretty good as well. So I think, Columbus gets a very solid young defenseman. On top of that, of course, with the 12th overall pick, they turned into Cole Sillinger. They also got a 2nd round pick and then a 1st round pick next year. I mean, there's 32 teams, only 2 teams pick 1 and 2. So chances are, even if they do bad, Chicago will not be picking a lottery. So chances are it's a 2022 first. In which case, that is the offer for Seth Jones. I mean, he's on the block. I feel like Columbus has to do this trade. Again, in real life, I think Columbus wins this. In game, they're getting, what, double, if not, 2.5 times triple the value. We'll see what they say here. Trade is accepted. Okay, so yeah, even in game, with EA's ratings, they feel like Columbus definitely wins this one. Now, after that trade, guys, just an update look at the Blackhawks roster. I've got DeBrincat, Strome, and Kane on the first line. Nylander, Taves, Kubalik on the second. Suter there with Doc and Hinostroza on the third, and then Connolly, Gaudette, and Camp on the fourth. In terms of the defense, I figured why not put the Jones brothers on the top pair. Caleb and Seth Jones there. That's pretty cool to see. We then have Murphy, DeHaan on the second pair, with Zadorov and Mitchell on the bottom pair. In terms of goalies, Lankin is still the starter, Subban backing them up. Again, looking at that Chicago team, are they a playoff team? Maybe. I think more than likely they're probably missing the playoffs, though, which is why, I think there's a chance they win the lottery 2022, then 2023 could be unprotected. Columbus gets Connor Bedard from Seth Jones. That would be pretty crazy. So, first look here at Seth Jones as a Chicago Blackhawk. I mean, we're probably pretty used to seeing that because he did play for the Portland Winterhawks in junior. Very, very similar jersey there. So it's kind of why it actually looks pretty fitting. His brother also played for the Portland Winterhawks, so I think, they're used to this jersey. And yeah, it looks like it fits, and the reason is because he wore pretty much the exact same jersey in junior. So next year, guys, we'll try out this trade from Columbus perspective and see what happens. Like I was saying, guys, we're not going to try this trade from the Blue Jackets perspective. One thing I actually noticed, too, you can see Chicago is interested in both Seth Jones and the 6th round pick. They have the 2nd on the block. Adam Boqvist here actually has more value 1-to-1 than Seth Jones. So, I mean, that's kind of telling. He's a very young defenseman. I think he's, 4 years younger than Jones. Looks pretty good. Or is he actually 5 years younger than Jones? He's 5 years younger than Jones. So that's why I said, I think him, a 1st and a 2nd, that alone, I think would have been enough. Even if it's just, them moving up 20 spots in the first round, like, that is a big jump. You get the younger guy. I think Chicago definitely overpaid here, and that's why they're going to say no in-game. And yeah, trade is rejected. And now Columbus wasn't done there, guys. They actually flipped the second-round pick they got from Chicago to the Carolina Hurricanes for Jake Bean. He's a guy I can't believe Seattle didn't draft. You can see in-game, 22 years old, 80 overall, medium top 4, former 13th overall pick in the 2016 draft. I think he's a solid young defenseman with potential. They instead took Morgan Geekie. You guys can see, look at the value. I know EA isn't always the most accurate, but I think I agree with them here. Like, Jake Bean seemed like the obvious pick in the expansion draft. He does need a new contract, where Geekie's under contract, but I can't see Bean getting more than a couple $1 million. Like, does that really matter that much to Seattle? Just a weird one to me. So, the second here for Bean, we'll see if Carolina would say yes to this. I mean, they left him exposed in the draft, so like, I don't know, he can't have too much value. They do reject it, yeah. So, we'll have to force this through. And again, when you think about the trade this way, Columbus essentially got Adam Boqvist, Cole Sillinger, Jake Bean, and a first-round pick, all for Seth Jones. I think that was a great trade for them. And so after that trade, guys, just look at the Blue Jackets lines. No change, of course, to the offense, which definitely still needs some work. Defensively, very young. I've got Rowensky and Gavrikov on the top pair, Boqvist, Karlsson second, Jake Bean, Kukin on the bottom pair. Dean Kukin at 27 is the oldest defenseman in this group. Most of them are between 20 and 24 years old. So this is good, to see for Columbus. Good youth movement going there. I'm going to give you guys your first look if you want at Boqvist and Bean as a Blue Jacket. I feel like both their game faces are going to be not great, but I actually don't know. And they're next to each other, so this will be nice and quick to look at. Some Adam Boqvist here. That's not terrible, honestly. Adam Boqvist, number 27 on the Blue Jackets. Again, I think the trade, they got so many nice pieces there for Seth Jones, a guy that said he wasn't going to re-sign with you, so everyone knew you had to trade him or you risk getting nothing, or at least less at the deadline. They did quite well. Jake Bean's is actually not terrible either, so there you go, Jake Bean on the Blue Jackets. I think the Blue Jackets did a wonderful job here in moving Seth Jones, and like I said, I think Blackhawks gave away too much, and they also signed him for a bit too much. So my personal opinion, big win for the Blue Jackets. But let me know in the comments section which team you guys think won the trade. And as always, hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the sub button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.